Hello, what's up guys, welcome back to my channel, and for today's video we'll be looking at the treasure fleet and we'll be completing challenge 3.4 of the shadow season, where we are limited to only 2 cards of each tier and we are only able to play shadow, lost souls or neutral cards. And this is the second series for challenge 3.4. I have released my gameplay for Siege of Hope. You can check out the video right now at the top right hand corner of your screen. And this is my deck for the treasure fleet. And yes, without further ado, let us see my replay and I'll show you and give you some tips on what can improve your run and what can also make your run easier. So in the beginning of the game, we'll be summoning witch claws, and what I recommend is to get up your power wells here. Just get up as many power wells as you can at the start of the game, so that you really have quite a lot of power as time goes on, or past the 3-minute or 5-minute mark. Once you get as many power wells, you would sort of like get back your power that you have used to build the power wells. And in the beginning, I would summon 2 witch claws, and why I chose witch claws is because they are S counter, and a lot of the units that you encounter in the beginning are S units. So why I also choose witch claw is because they have this infused infiltration, where when they teleport to the enemy area, they are able to explode and deal damage to enemy units. So this is what I would recommend. And the main place that is very useful for this ability is to warp to this Twilight Bombard and just get rid of these Twilight units. But of course, that is not our main attacking force. So for Witch Claws, it will be just our main attacking force in the beginning of the game, and later on we will have Lost Shades to help us with a lot of the enemy units that are coming on later. And what is also good is that the Lost Shades will kill the enemy units, and our Witch Claws will get the corpse gathering, and the more corpse they gather, the stronger that they will be, and they will deal 50% more damage. So make sure to get up your power wells first, power wells here as well. And once your monument is built, build 2 lost launchers so that it's able to defend your second monument. Alright, the first Wagon is coming up right now. So there's no rush in building so many Lost Shades because we got 7 power wells, so we will be getting a lot of power along the way, and we can just build up and summon Lost Shades as we continue to protect the Gold Wagon. And why I chose the Lost Shade, the blue affinity, is because when you have a couple of these Lost Shades together, they take 15% less damage. So this is so much better because they have like sort of like unity, and they also take lesser damage from enemy units. A very good affinity to have for Lost Shade. And just keep pushing up. And what I do over here is to lure some of the Twilight units so that we get rid of the Twilight units but not get paralyzed by the Wheel Zapper. And now I have my Snapjaws, and why I have Snapjaws as my second tier 1 unit is because when attacking a building or enemy unit, as you can see, they will take more damage. Let me just show you my Snapjaws. They'll take 50% more damage, and this will help my Lost Shade to take down the enemy buildings a lot quicker, and also other enemy units like the Twilight Devastator or even the Twilight Bombard, which deals a huge amount of damage to ground units. Then I'll just leave them here to die to distract the Twilight Creep, because the setting about my army over here is that they can't attack air units. So now I'll just be building a couple of lost launchers so that this area will be secured. The area where enemies will spawn from the cave is secured, so I don't have to build any defenses right at my tier 3 area. What you can also do is to have the Gold Wagon come closer to this area and tank some damage on the Twilight Bombard. If you have a lot of health to spare, as you can see, close to 4,000 is a pretty good amount to tank your damage for your units, for your army. And what I would do is to aim the Twilight Bombard first because it really deals the most damage. And thankfully my Gold Wagon has a lot of health, so it took the attack from the Twilight Bombard. And now that the first Wagon is done and you can clear this enemy area, you would have access to tier 3. And for tier 3, our main unit would be the Lost Horror. So what I will do with my Lost Shades over here is to just camp them in this area so that they just get rid of any enemy units that comes out from the cave, and also that is attempting to get rid of my monument, my tier 3 monument. And now I got my Lost Horror, and slowly for the second Wagon onwards, I will be slowly building some outposts, like little small bases at the cave area, so this would prevent Twilight units from spawning and going wherever they want to attack the Gold Wagon, or just being annoying little pests. So what I would do for each of the cave is probably to build around 2 Lost Launcher and 1 Necroblaster, and also getting around the map to get rid of all these little infestation base so that lesser or fewer Twilight units would spawn. Again, the logic to have a few Lost Launchers with a Necroblaster is because the Necroblaster requires corpse gathered to fire or attack units, and the Lost Launcher would help kill enemy units in case my Necroblaster doesn't have enough corpse to attack the Twilight units. So for the Lost Horror, the tricky thing or hardest thing to get rid would be this base, because there's the Twilight Horror which can paralyze my Lost Horror, and they also have XL counter which will easily kill off my Lost Horror. So what I would recommend is to build a couple of like Witch Claws so that they get close to the Twilight Horror and they get paralyzed by the Twilight Horror, and also they are the main distraction for the Twilight Horror, where the Twilight Horror will attack the Witch Claws instead of my Lost Horror. So later on I will show you the method, but first and foremost, the most important thing is to protect the Gold Wagon. Alright, as you can see, it's a very strong tier 3 card. But as you can see, for the first one, my thought was to just use a Snapjaw to make them more vulnerable. However, as you can see, they do a lot of damage, and the reason why my Lost Horror is walking a little bit weird is because I want them to walk back to my building area to heal up. But if I click somewhere within like a weird area, they start going a little bit funny. As you can see, this base is quite secured. Necroblaster up. So for this top cave area, it has the strongest, or it will be attacked by the strongest enemy unit, so I would recommend building more Necroblasters and more Lost Launchers. And once your Wagon is safe, make sure to send your Lost Horror to just get rid of the remaining Twilight camps. Right, power wells up. Now I got a lot of Lost Horror and build some Witch Claws to take up, be distracted. As you can see, Twilight Horror attack my Witch Claws. Also, if you have noticed, I have a little bit of some Snapjaws right at the cave, and what this does is that in the beginning, when I did not have a lot of tower, the Snapjaws will help my towers deal 50% more damage to enemy units, but later on down the road in this game, they will not be needed. So let's show you how I'm getting rid of all of the Twilight units. As you can see, I didn't have much difficulty in this game. So far it's very smooth and pretty easy. So get rid of all the spawning camps, the Twilight infestation bases, and your run will be met with a lot fewer enemy units. For this area, make sure that these patrolling Twilight units do not come when you're attacking the tier 4 area, because they will be aggroed and your Lost Horror aren't ready to be taken on by so many of these Twilight Horrors and Twilight Evil Eye. So the fact that there's Twilight Horrors and Twilight Evil Eye, your Lost Horrors are simply dead, getting paralyzed or getting disintegrated at the same time. Yeah, but not to worry, I've learned from my mistake, and this base, most of the units are dead, so we don't really need a lot of Lost Horrors, or rather Lost Shades can take down this base and get our tier 4. So that's what I'll be doing. Let me just show you. I'm gonna speed up my run, and then I will make sure that the patrolling units will go off first, and I will move on and attack the tier 4 base. Alright, so once you destroy this base, get a tier 4 up, and you can get rid of this last base. For this final base over here, it's not really necessary because it is quite a strong base and you don't really want to risk a lot of your units dying. And just set up defenses in the middle over here. The best defense is really to have towers, and it's a lot easier to defend than to attack. Yeah, so this would be the last Wagon, and from here on you got tier 4. It is really easy. You got Lost Dragons and you got your Lost Warlord. But Lost Warlord is not compulsory. You can also use Overlord or a card that is cheaper. And for this I have the Lost Dragon, the Green Affinity one. The reason being is that for the Green Affinity Lost Dragon is that it will disable any ranged attacks or special abilities. And the thing about the caves is that they always spawn units that use ranged abilities. So when you station Lost Dragons at each of the cave, the first speed that lands on the enemy unit would make them disabled and they cannot attack your towers or your units anymore. This is why I opt for the Green Affinity Lost Dragons. They are very helpful in this particular map. And now that you have a lot of your tier 4 really good defensive formation, defensive bases, it is an easy win. Just look at your Wagon slowly moving up. And yes, I hope you guys get your challenge 3.4 completed. And if you enjoy my video, don't forget to hit the subscribe button, and I'll see you guys again real soon for more Skylords Reborn content and walkthroughs.